Welcome back, the Keto family. Today we're making a low-carb shortbread cookie. If this is your first time with us, don't forget, hit the subscribe button below and the bell icon so you don't miss upcoming videos. Alright guys and gals, so as always, everything I'm using today you're going to find right down there in the description below. And at the end of the video will be a nutritional information card so you know about what the breakdown for these cookies are. Cookies, who does not love cookies? It is my favorite go-to sweet treat when I just need a little something to take the curb off that craving. These are perfect for it. Not too sweet, just perfect. You'll also find down in the description below the link for where I found this recipe. Keep in mind though, I do change it up a little bit here and there just because I never leave a recipe as is. I always tweak it just a little bit. Alright, that being said, we are using our stand mixer today. If you have a hand mixer, by all means use that. Alright, to start off with for our ingredients, I have a stick of softened butter. And if you're like me and always forget to soften your butter, I just stick mine in the microwave for 20-25 seconds. It softens it just enough for us. Now that was unsalted butter. I forgot to say that. I'm going to add to that my sweetener. You can use whatever your sweetener of choice for this is. I'm using pyro stevia. It's going to be a half a cup of pyro stevia. You can use, monk fruit. You can use whatever your sweetener is. Just keep in mind different sweeteners sweeten differently, so you might want to add more or less depending on what you're using. So we're going to add that in. And then I'm going to half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Alright, now that I got those in, we're going to mix those together till it's a light and fluffy mixture. You think we're making icing for a minute. Alright, so our butter is now nice, light, and fluffy. So what I'm going to do is I have a cup and a quarter of my flour mixture here. You can use almond flour here if you want, but I have recently picked up a new flour. It's this one, the Earthly Choice Nut Flour Blend, and it is a combination of almond flour, coconut flour, pecan flour, and walnut flour. It's only got 1 net carb per serving, and so I thought I'd give it a try. And when I first started experimenting with it, I made my biscuits that y'all saw here, but instead of using almond flour, I used this nut flour. And I liked them. They came out good. I actually made gravy, and I had biscuits and gravy with that. My family, they didn't care for it in biscuit form though. They said it was a little bit nutty, a little bit dense for them. So that got me thinking, and I'm like, nutty, what goes good with nutty flour? And there's nothing better than cookies. And I thought that the shortbread cookies could just benefit from a little bit of nutty flavor to it. So that's how we started using it in our cookie recipe. So I have a cup and a quarter of that. Again, you can use almond flour instead if you prefer. And to that I'm going to add half a teaspoon of pink Himalayan sea salt. Alright, just going to get that quick stir together. And one thing with this flour, I have noticed that it tends to not clump up as much. So I really didn't sift this today at all because I've not had a problem with it clumping in any way. But if you want to be on the safe side, of course, you can always sift it yourself, but I didn't. And I broke my golden rule. Always sift your powders and your flour so you don't get any lumps or bumps. We're going to start slowly adding our flour in here as this is on and running. So turn on low and then just start pouring in the flour. Alright, that is it. Our flour has been incorporated, so we have a dough. You notice it looks a little bit crumbly. That's not a problem. As long as you can pick it up and squeeze a little bit between your hands and it sticks together, it's going to be just right. Alright, so that first part's done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this out onto a sheet of wax paper. I know it's a little bit crumbly, guys. It's going to be at first, but don't worry about it. It works itself out, I promise. Alright, now that the dough's out, we got a second sheet of wax paper here. And if y'all have seen any of my cracker videos before, then y'all know I love this method of rolling out the dough. Keeps it from sticking to a rolling pin. Now, as far as the thickness that you want to roll these, that's really personal to you. You can make nice, thick, soft cookies. You can make them a little bit thinner, a little bit crunchier. It's whatever you prefer. Just keep in mind the thickness will also dictate how long you bake them for in the oven. So if I make mine a little bit thicker and bake them for 12 to 15 minutes, if you make them nice and thin, you might want to start checking them around 9-10 minutes. Alright, so roll these out however thick you want, and I'll see y'all back in a second. Alright guys, so I got this rolled out and I'm going for a rectangular shape here. So all I'm doing is I'm taking a butter knife and I'm cleaning up the edges around it. I didn't want any lacy edge cookies. I want these all nice and rectangular. Now, if you don't care what shape they are, or if you want to do, you know, circles or cut out in some other cookie cutter shape, that's perfectly fine. You'll probably want to refrigerate the dough though for 30 to 60 minutes before you attempt cutting it out, just to give it a little bit of firmness to it. But I'm going to be using my pizza cutter with these, and we're going to cut them out in rectangular shapes because, I mean, the shortbread cookies, I remember from my childhood, they always had that rectangular shape to them. So that's what I'm doing today. So I'm just cleaning up any of this. It's not quite pretty and flat. Make it nice and smooth. I got this rolled to probably about 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/3 of an inch thick. That gives you an idea how I like them. Again, you can roll them thicker or thinner if you prefer. Alright, so now we have our basic shape here. I've rolled it out into a nice little rectangle, cleaned up my edges. I'm just going to take my pizza cutter and cut this into rectangles. I'm so bad at making these straight lines. All mine tend to go a little squiggly. Alright, so I got these cut out into rectangles. I end up cutting grid, 7x6 grid here. It'll give me 42 cookies. So when I give you the macro breakdown at the end, it'll be for 42 cookies per each one. And you might get more or less cookies depending on how you cut them, so I always encourage you to do your own calculations. The macro breakdown I give you at the end is just to give you an idea of what to expect, but you might have 15 larger cookies versus my 42 small rectangle cookies. Just keep that in mind, okay? Alright, next up is I'm just going to transfer this to the cookie sheet. Voila, simple as that. I've already got my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I'm going to cook these for about 12 minutes and I want to start checking them. Again, if yours are thinner, check them sooner. If they're thicker, you want them a little bit longer. But I'm going to pop these in the oven. I'll see you guys back in about 12 minutes. Alright, lovely. So these just came out of the oven. They are piping hot. And as you can see, some of the ones on the edges did get a touch dark. I baked these right at 12 minutes. I don't mind that they're not burnt, they're just a little darker than normal. The trick here is do not try and take these out before they cool down. If you do, they're just going to crumble on you. So I'm going to let these sit here and cool for the next 10-20 minutes or so. And I'll see you guys back when I'm ready to separate them. Alright, lovely. So these have finished cooling off and we might have had one or two disappear meanwhile. All we're doing is simply breaking them apart where the edges are scored. Just like that. It is so super simple. Now, you might want to spray your wax paper, a little bit of olive oil or avocado oil cooking spray before you put these on. So it does stick just a little bit, but I find if I gently just pull it back without being too rough with it, you can get them without breaking the cookies. Just like that. And voila, and we have the cutest little shortbread cookies. Now, if you really got into your work and wanted to make these extremely cute, you can take a fork and pierce the top of them before you bake them. I didn't find it necessary, but it would be absolutely adorable with this. So good. So I really am digging this flour, guys. I think this would make a wonderful banana bread. Gives me an idea for another video. I got some recipes I'm wanting to try out, so I will try it out with this flour because this would be just perfect and you wouldn't have to add any extra nuts to it. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you found it helpful. Feel free to share this video with anybody you know can use a great shortbread cookie recipe. Don't forget to leave me a thumbs up down below. And until next time guys, bye.